Hello and welcome to our channel. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Rachael.
Today's episode is going to be all about our review of the new Spencer movie.
What did we think? What do we think of Kristen Stewart? What did we think of the accents, the costumes, the set design? You name it, we're going to just go through it now. And so stay tuned because that's coming up. Oh, and by the way, we will say there are going to be spoilers throughout the whole of this review. So if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it and then come back because there's definitely going to be spoilers.
If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's give you a little synopsis of Spencer. It came out yesterday here in the UK. We went to see it the day after, so Saturday.
Yeah.
And it's starring Kristen Stewart as Diana. What's kind of the storyline then, Rach?
So it depicts a weekend of Diana's life when she was with the royal family at Christmas in Sandringham in 1991.
Yeah.
And so we've got Princes Charles, William and Harry, the rest of the royals, but they don't make that much of an appearance.
No, it's very much centered on Diana.
Yes.
Yeah.
It kind of psychoanalyzes Diana in a very specific way.
Yeah.
So one of the first shots that we see is Diana driving a convertible. Now, considering this is set in England in December when it's absolutely freezing cold, this is just not... This just would not happen. Trust me when I say that.
I kind of let out a little bit of a laugh at this point because she has the top down on this Porsche and we're thinking this looks like Maytime in the UK.
And she wasn't even wearing a coat.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. Your hair would be going out everywhere. You would be freezing. You really, really would.
And also she's not being followed by her protection officers, which... come on, would not have happened.
So we want to just say that we completely understand that the Spencer film is an artistic interpretation. It's a biography. What did they call it? They called it a biographical psychological drama is what they've called it. It's a very good way of describing the whole film. I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be a bit more of a drama.
Yes.
So definitely. We are going to nitpick at this film, by the way, but we also realize this is an artistic interpretation, but some of it, they've taken the art of it too far. In my opinion, that's all I'm going to say, because we have to also call it out. These are Rachel and I's opinions. They're not, they're not scientific facts. They're just our opinions. So if you disagree, let us know in the comments below, or if you feel the same way as us, comment down below and let us know what you think. Okay, let's get on to the main thing about this film is Kristen Stewart. Rach, give us your thoughts.
Oh, so I didn't have high hopes going into this film, but the accent wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. She actually did quite well with the accent. There were some points where I was a bit, I'm not too sure about that. But overall, she did quite a good job with the accent.
Yeah.
The actual portrayal of Diana, I came out of the movie thinking it made me kind of dislike Diana because it depicts her really as a victim. And whenever we see Diana in film or movies since she's passed away, it's always the same narrative. Prince Charles is always depicted as a villain and Princess Diana as the victim, which I think couldn't be further from the truth.
See, okay, I have a different perspective. Firstly, I thought Kristen Stewart, I think that's probably one of my favourite roles I've seen her in. I can't believe I just said that. It's just come out of my mouth. I just said that. The reason being is because sometimes with Kristen Stewart, her mannerisms, her own mannerisms, take away from the character. And I actually thought I saw something different from her. There was like a softness, and I kind of liked her portrayal of Diana. So although that's hard coming out of me from my mouth because I'm not the biggest Kristen Stewart fan, but I actually think that what she was given, she did very well with.
Yeah, I think that her mannerisms, she kind of had down with what Diana was like. So the whole looking up through the lashes, the way she fidgeted with her hands, that was very much like Diana would do. So things like that she did have down to a T, really.
Actually, like, I thought her accent was okay. It wasn't like flawless, but it was a really good attempt at it.
Yeah.
And also I thought the accent would take away from the plot, or like the way in which she would have portrayed Diana, but it didn't. And I only think probably about 3 times throughout the movie I actually thought that wasn't 100%, but then it was still 80 to 90%.
Yeah.
So I've got to give her dues there. She did really, really well with that. Let's talk about the film as a whole, because I didn't realize it was going to be so psychological, and it was very psychological.
It's all from Diana's perspective, so it's very much in Diana's head, what she would have been thinking and feeling at the time. And at this point in time, her marriage to Charles was breaking down.
Yeah.
And this film is really depicting a weekend of what that would have been like in her life.
Yeah, and also when you see the royal family, you don't actually see them. Most of the time, they're probably blurred out, muted. But when we do see them, we see them through Diana's eyes. So if Diana didn't like a person, that's what you would be felt. That's how you would feel about that person. So actually, I think the director did a great job in doing that. However, I also think that it's a very one-sided viewpoint.
Yes.
And we know from what we know about the royals, the Sandringham is a very happy time for the royal family, and it's a time where they are all together as a family. They give the gifts. There's lots of laughter and fun there, which we don't see in the film, and that's fine because we understand from an artistic point of view that it's from Diana's eyes. And at that time, she wasn't happy. She wasn't happy in the royal family. It was a time when she was deciding to leave it. Leave the institution, leave her marriage with Prince Charles. So it's hard, isn't it? Because we're seeing it from like a royal perspective, saying, well, that's not right, and that's not right, and that's not right. But when you see it through Diana's eyes, if that's how she felt, and that's how the director wanted to depict it, from what he assumed she felt, again, we have to say that, then
So one thing that I thought was really bizarre in the whole of this movie was when she first goes to stay at Sandringham, she's given a book about Anne Boleyn. And as we know, Anne Boleyn had her head chopped off by Henry VIII. Now, Anne Boleyn appears quite a lot in this movie.
I think she was like the supporting actress, I have to say. She just popped up everywhere.
So it's kind of like Anne Boleyn's haunting Diana in a way.
Yeah.
And there's a scene towards the end of the movie where, spoiler alert, she's in her creepy old house on a staircase, and she's about to throw herself down the stairs, and Anne Boleyn kind of saves her in a way, and she's like, just rip off your pearls.
Yeah.
And she rips off the pearls instead of throwing herself down the stairs.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Again, like I say, that's where the psychological bits come in, because you will watch this film and you will not know whether that's the narrative they've gone down, or whether that's a flashback, or a thing that she wants to do but she can't do. So there's a moment where she's eating pea soup and then she eats a pearl, and it's like the most weirdest, like it does mess with your head, doesn't it?
Like,
because you can hear the crunch and everything,
and you're like, why isn't anyone saying anything? When she's really like stuffing her face with this soup, and
then obviously we know that it didn't happen. It's just something
in her head.
It's all in her head. So be warned when you go see Spencer. What you see might not actually be what is happening. So I wish somebody would have warned me about that, because I was like, why is she eating a massive pearl? And all of a sudden, like, this doesn't make any sense. There was some lovely themes throughout it. For instance, her father's jackets. They're kind of like, it didn't make any sense, by the way. But what I'm saying is there were themes that held together the storyline of her being a Spencer, of her finding her freedom. There was a moment where she was talking about pheasants and how she was actually talking to a pheasant, wasn't she? The more I talk about this film, the more bizarre it is.
I don't think you're going to believe it until you actually go and see it.
Yeah. She was talking to a pheasant, and she was basically kind of seeing her own life reflected within this pheasant's journey and its life. I mean, me even talking about it, I'm like, So there's lots of symbolism. It's very arty. Yes. It is very arty. So if you are not into very arty / psychological dramas, this is not the film for you. But if you love a bit of bizarre, a bit of weird, connected with the royal family, and a depiction of somebody who's mega famous, then you may enjoy it. We say that because when we came out, we were like, I can't believe we paid money for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One thing I will say is living here in the UK, there is no way on earth in December that someone would not be wearing a coat outside.
Yeah. It just, and gloves and a hat. I'm sorry, it just wouldn't happen.
There's scenes where Diana's driving with the top down on her convertible.
Yeah.
She's not wearing a coat, and it's like, come on, that just wouldn't happen.
But also when she goes to Sandringham, there's this moment where she's like, oh, they're not turning the heating on. I'm like, well, put a coat on, hun. Like, put a jumper on.
Yeah, she's only got a little thin jumper on. I'm like, let her up.
Yeah, she's just gone to the larder to get some food, and she's in like a little strappy top. And apparently this house is freezing. I mean, I'm sure they are. They're massive places. But I'm like, you're not helping yourself. Stick a jumper on, girl. It's December. So yeah, it kind of, I mean, I felt cold just looking at her. Put a jacket on. Well, let's talk about the set design then. What did you think?
Me personally, I didn't really like it. A lot of this movie was filmed in Germany. And if you've ever seen Sandringham, it's very different to the house that they've used in Spencer. It doesn't have the same style. They've just thought, oh, let's just pick a big mansion and call that Sandringham, and people think that's what it looks like. When it doesn't. There's scenes as well when they're going to church on Christmas Day, and again throughout the years we have seen the royal family outside St Mary Magdalene's church in Sandringham, and the church looks nothing like the real church.
We're talking about how different that is to The Crown, because when you watch The Crown on Netflix, there's this moment where you're like, that could be Buckingham Palace, that could be Clarence House. It's so close, isn't it? Whereas with this, and I guess maybe they just didn't want it to be completely it. They wanted it to be like a dreamlike world. You know? So yes, I mean, I would have liked a bit more realism, but you know, they have to do what they got to do. But I will say this. Did you see that shower? That shower was like the best shower I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was weird.
The jets were coming from the side.
From the side. It looked like, if anyone's watched Harry Potter, Chamber of Secrets, it looked like inside the chamber, just before the Chamber of Secrets. It was, honestly, it was like, what is this shower? I have never seen one like it before, but I was digging it. Like, if I had all the money in the world, I think I'd be like, can I have a Diana shower, please?
So now we're going to move on to the costumes.
So this film is set in 1991, so you're going to see the end of like the 80s moving into the 90s. I actually thought they got it spot on.
Yeah, for me it was a bit of a, don't get me wrong, I liked the fashion, but I didn't love it. I think knowing that Kristen Stewart is an ambassador for Chanel, they use a lot of Chanel pieces in this movie, and Diana wore Chanel herself, but not to the extent that they show in the film. So for me, that was a bit off. And every single scene, she's wearing a different outfit.
Now, I kind of like that.
But to me, it made it seem really bitty, because she's in one outfit and then the scene changes and then she's in another. And so it doesn't correlate of what was happening before. Yeah,
but I also think, like, I completely understand, and that is something that definitely happens. But also in my mind, the director, from my understanding, is trying to have it bitty, because he's trying to depict the chaoticness that's going on in Diana's world and in her mind. I think that's my interpretation. But there was moments when, for instance, Christmas time or Christmas Eve, when they were supposed to go down and open the presents with the children, and all of a sudden it just moves on to something else, and they're cleaning up, and I'm like, I wanted to see the presents. You know, and that's something you have to just go with this film. It's not going to satisfy you. You're not going to come out and say, oh, do you know what, I think I learned a little bit about Diana, or it was a very artsy way of doing a biography.
So there's a film right at the end when Diana is off with Harry and William, and again, they're not followed by protection officers. This really got to me, because here is a future queen and a future king and a spare. Sorry, Harry. But there's no way this would have happened in real life. They would always be followed by a protection officer. And they went to a KFC drive-through and they asked for the surname. And at the end, she goes, Spencer. And I've been to KFC many times, and trust me, they do not ask for the surname. Might be different to everywhere else in the world, but here in the UK, that just doesn't happen.
I mean, I'm so glad that the future king and, you know, I'm glad they had a KFC. Let's put it that. I mean, William's, the king of the KFC now, isn't he? He's been packed loads of times in KFC.
So what did you think of the other actors in the movie?
I loved Charles. He's played by Jack Farthing. And if anyone would have seen Poldark, you'll know he's one of the main characters in this. I'm like, yes, bring it on. But he played Charles, and I absolutely loved him in this. I was more favourable towards the scenes with William and Harry just because we saw a different side of Diana. There was a few characters in there that I didn't like, but the reason I didn't like them is because Diana didn't like them. So, and that would be Timothy Spall's character, the Queen. She was like, I thought I was going to love the Queen in this.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't a massive fan of the Queen in this, to be honest.
The Queen, like everything about the Queen, her accent and the way the hair and makeup looks, it was just, for me, it was completely off.
I wasn't that strongly opposed to her, but there was a moment where I'm just like, but then that's what the director wants you to do, so it makes sense. And then there was the character Maggie. So she was a dresser of Diana, and we find out that she's in love with Diana, and she takes her like to a beach somewhere. They start having a like little hug, and then she says, I love you. And what I liked about this scene in particular is that we know that Diana just wanted to be loved. She wanted to be accepted and loved. And this was a lovely acceptance of that love, because she had like a little run around on the beach with Maggie, and then it moved on, didn't it?
But guess what? Maggie isn't real.
She isn't real. She never existed.
She's made up.
Yeah.
I thought the way Charles is depicted, he always comes across in adaptations as really cold and distant and uncaring. And to be honest, I'm just sick of this narrative.
We need to make our own film.
He just comes across as just like the bad guy. And I think obviously, as we know, this movie is from Diana's eyes, and that's how she sees him and feels about him. But I feel like now it's kind of like, come on, the narrative's moved on a bit, but I understand from Diana's point of view, this is how she would have seen him.
I think it's hard, because if anyone is still hung up on Prince Charles and Camilla, then this really plays out here, but they don't play out any of Diana's affairs.
No.
So
and there's a scene on Christmas Day when they're coming out of the church, and they're not actually speaking, but there's a scene where Diana is looking at Camilla. Camilla had never been to a church service with the royals before she married into the royal family. So again, this is completely made up.
I just love how you can make something and just choose whatever you want to be part of the story, and it's not real or true.
But I think like The Crown, a lot of people, if you're going to see this movie and you didn't know a lot about Charles and Camilla and Diana, the whole love triangle, you would think that this is what happened. But as we know as royal fans, this just didn't happen.
I mean, we know that there was an affair, and we know there was a divorce. We're not taking away from that. But yeah, I think there was like, oh, can we add a little bit more spice to this film? Can we add a little bit more here and there? And
and it's just Camilla smirking a bit at Diana. And Diana like looking at the press and then looking at Camilla, and it's again, I wasn't a fan of this scene, as you can probably tell.
So next up, in our next little section about Spencer, let's talk music, Rach. Because let me tell you, this one here, when we were in the cinema, this one here was very vocal about the music. Let's put it that way.
Well, it started, and I said to you, it sounds like a sinister crime drama.
Yeah.
It was like, what have I come to watch? I don't understand.
Well, now we know it's a psychological drama.
Yeah. But there were some scenes, it felt like they put music in for the sake of having music. And for me, some scenes, it just didn't fit well.
There were times when they were talking and the dialogue, and yes, we know they're using music to heighten that chaoticness of Diana's psychological state at that time. So we understand why they use the music at certain times, but I agree with you, it was very loud, and it also overpowered certain parts. It took away from Kristen Stewart's acting, actually. So, but then I also thought it really worked well in other areas. So I'm a little bit 50-50 with the music. I loved it, but I also completely get what you're saying. So I think one of the main criticisms of this film as it was being made is, should it be made in the first place? Diana passed away in 97. Is this too short of a gap to do a biography? We've had quite a few biographies on Princess Diana, but is it needed?
Personally, I think not. I think they should wait at least 100 years after someone's passed away, because as we know, William and Harry are still around and they've got families now. And I don't think they will personally go and see this film, but there may be others that have seen it, that know them. And is this how they want their mother to be perceived? Probably not.
It's a very controversial question, really, isn't it? Because everyone's going to have a different opinion and a different thought on it. I actually think you when you watch this film, you can totally see that it's an artistic film. It's not taking itself too seriously, but it is taking itself seriously. Yeah. So in regards to, say, something like The Crown that portrays that is the fact, even though it's not, this doesn't feel that way with this film. So I feel okay with that, but I also feel a little bit of what you're saying as well, Rachel, the fact that why? Yeah. Okay, so those are our thoughts about certain aspects of the Spencer film, but let's give you our overall thoughts, and let's also say, do we recommend people go see this? Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
So out of 10, I would give this movie, I hate to say this, well, I don't actually, a 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10? For me, it just didn't hit the mark. I just, to be honest, couldn't wait for it to be over. There was one point I turned to you in the cinema and I said, God, it's only Boxing Day. How much longer have I got to sit through this? But yeah, altogether, I thought for me, it just didn't hit the mark. And so that's why I've scored it a 3 out of 10.
Would you recommend other people go see it?
Save your money. Save your money and take it from us. It's not a film, even if it was on TV, that I would watch again.
Okay, so I am going to take your 3 and I'm going to raise you a little bit. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Yeah, and the reason why is because I completely appreciate the artistic direction, the way Kristen Stewart took Diana. I think it's a way we've never seen before, and it was a very fresh perspective. However, I didn't realize I was signing up for like The Woman in Black at one point. It got really scary at one point. Was it just me being a baby? But it got really scary. She was in like this house with a torch. It was really quite scary. Okay, that's just me. And so for that, and also the inconsistencies here and there, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I would say if you love psychological dramas, if you love just going to anything with the royals, because I mean, to be honest, we were a little bit like, should we go, shouldn't we go? Yeah. But we know, we have Keeping Up with the Windsors, so we wanted to give you our perspective. I don't think I would watch it again, actually.
No,
I don't think I would watch it again. And I'm a bit on the fence about whether I would recommend it. I think I would only recommend it to certain people.
Yeah, I think if you're a fan of Diana, I think it's worth going to see this film. Yeah, but if you're a fan overall of the royal family, I think it's just going to really annoy you, because it did me.
Yeah, there's a lot of inconsistencies, especially when it comes to like the way they eat Christmas dinner, the way that they celebrate Christmas in, when they go to church, and it's a bit like, oh, that's not right. It's just not right.
So that's what we think of Spencer the movie. Let us know in the comments below if you've seen the film, what your thoughts are.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And we'll see you in our next video.